Yes, a $2 trillion market cap sounds like a huge amount, but you also have to remember that a lot of the
Welcome back, everyone, to the Still Talking Podcast. My name is Joe. This is the Still Talking Podcast. I bring my good friend Antarah on. Welcome, Antarah.
Thank you guys for having me. It is always a pleasure to be here. We have good conversations, good company, so I'm excited.
Hey, you're going to make me blush over here talking good company. Antarah, I don't want to waste no time here. I want to jump into this. This podcast is all about cryptocurrency 2024. What the hell is it? How do you make money in it? And I guess the kind of first thing I'm looking at here, Antarah, is I want to ask you a question. What is your experience in crypto?
It's maybe not as much of your experience, or lesser, I should say, but I've definitely experienced a little bit of it. Truthfully, I was very skeptical when it first started really becoming more of a mainstream thing, and I'm still not entirely convinced that it's what at least I'm willing to put all of my money into, but I would be quite stupid to say I shouldn't be looking into it at all. I think enough people have made ridiculous amounts of money with it. There's enough really cool creative concepts going into it with different types of utility involved, where I think at the very least we should have our eye on it. I think it's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's only going to develop more. And as with any development in society, you either get with the program or you get left behind.
Yeah, and it's certainly something I'm becoming. You have that same mentality a lot of new people in crypto do.
Yeah.
I mean, my journey in crypto started all the way back in 2018. Unfortunately, I wasn't old enough to work a computer in 2008, 2009 when Bitcoin first came out, but that was the start of crypto. So you think about from a decade from then, I was in. And that's as early as you can get. And especially as we keep going in technology and future development with AI and all this stuff, I mean, crypto is just going to be there. It's going to have to be around. Yeah. It's not something that you guys can just, forget about. I mean, my journey started way back in 2018. So, it was like the Wild West. Believe it or not. I mean, I became what we call a KOL. It's called a key opinion leader. Basically, you're an influencer inside these markets. And as we know, what happened in 2020 and 2019, these influencers like Logan Paul, Jake, all these guys just came onto the scene and started pumping cryptos. Yeah. And it's so easy to just get a couple dollars in and just grow your market capitalization up. I mean, it's not anything you could trade on the markets standard, but back then it was, you have your external wallets, you get out there and get in these projects. Me being a KOL, I was actually able to get in these earlier than some other folks, which is something we'll touch on a little later in this. But yeah, my journey in crypto, I've been in it now for quite a while, and it looks like this industry is starting to become more real for people.
Yeah.
And it's great to see because it's not so much the Wild West anymore.
Yeah. What I think is super interesting about your story is crypto is kind of and correct me if I'm wrong, your introduction to the world of money and finance, whereas for a lot of other people, maybe we started in real estate or stocks or something and then heard about crypto. So it's cool to see someone who had that inverse. For me, it was just I just didn't want to miss out. I remember I bought some Bitcoin when it was at 16 grand. I sold it when it dropped down to 15, which I still regret tremendously. I think I made a little bit of money with some of those meme coins. You guys might have heard of Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, things like that. And that was
the memes, love the meme tokens.
They were great, but that's where I kind of backed away from crypto because it was just that. It was just a meme. It was something amusing. I didn't really see any value in it. And then the longer that it kept going, that I started paying attention, I see, these things are now, the blockchain is going to be the infrastructure for different types of websites. And you have Web3, which I'm sure you could explain better than me, but you have all these different things. We even talked about crypto and real estate with NFTs, and all of a sudden I was like, this could affect everything. So I again, just to reiterate it, it's definitely something people should be keeping their eye on, whether you start with crypto or you start with real estate or stocks, whatever it is. They're not that different.
Take it from a guy like Antarah. I mean, he's touched in crypto a little bit. I mean, but there's other people like me who were in on the scene. And I tell you, it was crazy to be in there. You have people that actually faced a lot of litigation. Sam Bankman-Fried. I mean, this is going as high as a level as Tom Brady was involved with something like that. So you have to keep yourself informed with everything about it. You can't just be throwing your money in it because you could be funding a scam like FTX was. And you see how that guy ended out.
And that's what's so scary to me when you describe what you were experiencing in 2018 as the Wild West, when from my experience and my perspective, it still is the Wild West. There's definitely going to be a lot of changes that we see coming up. At least that's my take on it.
And you can already see it. I mean, the main focus in all of this is how can you make money in crypto? How can you not get scammed? How can it not be the Wild West? I mean, it's tamed ever so slightly. And I've kind of boiled down three main reasons. I mean, I'll touch on two, and Antarah, you can hit on the last one here, but one of the first things, it's airdrops, right? Airdrop is a fun word to just kind of say. You could just say you have a wallet and someone throws money in your wallet.
Okay.
Just to get you involved with something. Think of it as a ticket into a project.
Okay.
Almost. I actually recently just got an airdrop through an optimized token.
Okay.
Optimism? Not really sure, but you see, you never know with these things. So I had this coin dropped into my wallet. I looked, it was like $4 or $5 grand, and I'm like, how'd this even show up? I've been involved in a lot of projects, and this was one I never even heard of. But then you look back and you see, oh, I participated in this event, which allowed me to get some airdrops into my wallet.
Yeah.
So being part of different communities can incentivize you to get other coins. They send you coins to get you involved in their community. It's a great way to get started in crypto without putting skin in the game.
That's great to know, because I follow a lot of finance people on different social media platforms, and they're always talking about airdrops, and I never really fully understood it. But having some conversations with you over the last few days, I was like, wow, they're actually giving away a lot of time free tokens.
Oh, no, and usually it is 100% free.
And sure, it might not turn into anything one day, but hey, it's free, and you could check it in a couple of months, and you have a couple grand in your wallet.
Yeah, you recently got in on this project. I don't know if it's launched yet, but it was, what was it?
It was Pi.
Pi. Yeah, Pi. It was like a mining network, right?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Essentially, for those of you who don't know, most crypto is harvested through what's known as mining, which is essentially you have a fairly strong computer basically doing some transactional stuff, and I can't explain it too well, but basically you put in work to kind of monitor the whole blockchain, and in exchange you get a portion of the crypto that's processed as payment for doing that. So I thought that was super cool, and I found an app that you could do essentially that on your phone. So I signed up for that in 2018. I guess we were going to talk about this third, but I can talk about it now.
Touch on this.
It's the power of being an early adopter. We've all heard the early bird gets the worm, and it's so true whether it's an IPO for a stock or just a crypto project that's just starting, because these things can grow, and it's also a downside. They're very volatile, but they can sometimes 10x, 100x. I mean, we talked about Dogecoin. That was close to 1,000x.
I just had some friends put in $500 and it turned to $250,000.
Wow.
The other day. It's, buy a brand new Lambo with just your $500 investment.
Yeah.
And there's get rich stories, and all that includes to just being early.
Yeah.
Just being early.
And just be curious too. Don't just be early, because a lot of these, like we said, there is unfortunately a lot of scams and a lot of sketchy activity sometimes in the crypto world, but just being willing to find out about something when it's still in its infancy could be the greatest decision of your life. I mean, $500 to $250,000, I bet they're pretty happy for being early adopters in that one.
How I like to put it, and I said this earlier too, is if you have like a small budget of like $100, just take $10 in your top 10 projects, and throw it in there. The chance that one of those are going to yield you a 100% return it's fairly likely, and especially in this bull cycle.
And the downside, okay, one of them completely flatlines. All right, you lost $10.
Exactly, and you could change that budget to anything else. I'm not saying put all of your money into crypto, but I mean $100 is like nothing. And especially when you talk in the grand scheme of it all, I mean, I talk to a lot of investors and such, and if you put $10,000 in, think about what you can do with that. Obviously, pick your projects, pick your poison essentially. But I mean, the chance that one of these projects you look at are going to be 100% return. Chances, you go on CoinMarketCap, it's one of the best websites. You go look up all the cryptocurrencies. You scroll down a little bit. We call those altcoins. Anything besides Bitcoin would be considered an altcoin. So you can go look through all these and get early on these projects. Some have been up for a while and they're just trading at low market caps. And when you put $500 in, next thing you know, you wake up the next day and you have $1,000 in your account.
I do think we should mention we are not financial advisors, and this is all mostly opinion based on our own experiences. But yeah, just right here across the bottom, this is not financial advice.
100%. Well, and there's another thing here to make money on crypto. So we went through airdrops and then, being early on investments. And another thing that I dived into when I became something called a KOL, key opinion leader, influencer in the space, allocation. That word gets tossed around a lot in the finance world, and it could mean dividends. It could just mean investing. In the bright terms of this, when you're a KOL, a key opinion leader, some influencer, someone who holds something, leverage against a community, you can promote that. That could just be through a blog. I happen to have a TikTok that had about 100,000 followers that I was putting in, from here and there, anywhere from like $2,000 to like $5,000 into a project. And on the back end, they would allow me to sell 0.25% of the token supply they would give me in exchange for that. So, for instance, here, if I put in $2,000, they give me a certain amount of tokens, And then on launch of that project, usually those KOLs would be in on the project before their launch. So that would net you a return just on that alone. So here's your entry, here's the launch price. You get all of that in there. And that's what you're allowed to sell. And then over a course of like 2 or 3 years, whatever long the vesting schedule is, you got to read these things. I mean, it could be a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I've dealt with Downmaker before. These guys are a huge company out there. They pretty much launch projects onto their site. They provide the funding and marketing. And Downmaker is one of the biggest in the world, over, I think, $1.2 billion in funded projects.
Wow.
It's a big number. It's a big number, especially in crypto. And I was in on these, a lot of them, actually. And you would give money, and you would get that allocation in return. And I'd say the returns off that was great. But you wait after 2 years in a project, if it's not a good project, it's going to go down to zero. But when you look at it 2,000 and you can make another 10 off of that right on launch, it's a great way to get involved with the space without having that whole scam thing. Because if you get in a project, you put 2,000 in, and what's what we call a rug pull, you're going to lose all 2,000. With these projects specifically, you'd get in, you knew they were going to launch because they're from a legitimate company, and they would usually go up another 10, 25x. I think the biggest project I was involved with is called Wilder World. Nice allocation, nice return, and I actually sold, I think it was like 30% of the token supply they gave me, and it was a lot of money at the time. It was actually one of my bigger wins, and I think I put like 3 or 4 in there, actually. Wow. And it was great. And these projects are good. And that's a good way to get started in crypto. You know, being early, it's kind of all key in 3. You know, be early, get those airdrops, get those allocations, find where you can get valuable in crypto. Because the more people you talk to in the space, it's a small niche, if you think about it. I mean, the market capitalization of crypto is under $2 trillion. Well under it. And if you think about what the entire GDP in America is, this is new. This is fresh. So getting in any project, trying to talk with what we call the devs, the developers on projects, trying to get into the communities, you can win your way in some allocations. You can win your way into some airdrops and get in early. That's the way to make money in crypto. Get early and be the first and start treating it as a actual industry.
Yeah. And I think the key thing there that you touched upon is it does require a little bit of legwork. You got to read the white pages. That's what they call it, right?
Yeah, white papers. You got to read everything tokenomics wise. Some people overlook this stuff. Sometimes even if the development team isn't even docs, they don't have their names on the project. That's something that indicates. I was looking at a project the other day. I think they do these pre-sales where they actually gather investors' funds and they use that to launch their token with liquidity and marketing. I was looking at, they raised $8.5 million. I think it is actually at 9 now.
Wow.
I was looking at this project and I was asking in the chat, I'm like, I like to promote this project. And then I'm looking through the white page a little more. And then I'm looking through, I'm like, the dev team isn't on here. Interesting. And then another thing they were talking about is on pre-sale, how much are you allowed to sell when you get your tokens? Because it's almost the same thing as an allocation where in a pre-sale, you're in here and launch price is there and you net the between. They never stated in their white paper that they would release any of this. So that right there goes to show me, okay, you're going to take my money and you're not going to tell me when I can get it. That right there is an indication. So you have to like kind of know what you're looking at.
Of course.
That, or it's pretty simple to just go in CoinMarketCap and find projects that are good standing like that. People who are actual on LinkedIn, people who have their names to this project, because if they're not, I mean, what are you looking at? You're looking at some online potential scam.
I mean, that's the other great thing about crypto is even though it's niche, and yes, a $2 trillion market cap sounds like a huge amount, but you also have to remember that a lot of that is these crypto whales, as they call them. I'd say probably half of it is probably just the whales, and the rest is investors like us. But the community around crypto is amazing, whether it's being in a private group chat that people exchange kind of information, or just going on CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, these websites that have so much information at your disposal. It makes it very easy to do some of the legwork and the research, and it, in my opinion, mitigates a lot of the risk. Again, not financial advice, but I do think, as with anything, the more research you put into it, the more you can essentially guarantee a certain level of success.
Yeah, staying informed with crypto is probably something you should consider when you're investing in crypto.
Yeah. And it is challenging. It's always changing.
It's less than 30-year-old technology.
Yeah.
2008, 2009, crypto came onto the scene. I mean, we're here at 2024 now. We're coming up on, I mean, this is still new. It's still new. And I don't see crypto being what the decentralization in it. And for those who don't know decentralization, pretty much you're becoming your own, if that's the simplest way to put it. It says essentially when you give money to a bank, you're giving your money to a bank. You're not giving it to your own self. In crypto, you get your own specified wallet. No one can touch your wallet unless you give someone else your seed phrase. That's your key to your wallet. That we call those your keys.
Write it down, don't lose it.
Yeah, write it down, don't lose it, stick it in a safe, because I've actually lost a little hard drive with some good money on it before, and I don't know my seed phrase for it. So likelihood you're going to get into something like that is, unless if you're a grade 8 hacker, but there really is no way around it because of the technology behind it. They almost create this whole new world with crypto. Decentralization, you hear all the time, DeFi for short. You own your own money.
Yeah.
It's yours, and if you lose it, it's gone. So it's different from the financial system where you give your money to the bank. The FDIC insure that's up to like, I think 25,000 or maybe even $250,000. Not sure what the number is. In crypto, you don't get that your insurance, but you get to own your stuff.
Yeah,
your bank will give you $2 in interest a year. With crypto, you could put it in a staking account and make interest that way, but it's yours. If you put it into a bank, we call that a wallet in crypto, you own that money. Yeah. That's what decentralization is. Keeping it in with the people. And that's the big thing with crypto. That's why they say Bitcoin's the next new thing. And you can get into it on how Bitcoin, when all these whales have it, how is that decentralized anymore? Well, that's the question in crypto. How can you fix that? And that's why I like the industry.
Well, what I find super interesting about crypto altogether is crypto is very much retaliation or a response to the current system we have. So right around when Bitcoin was formed was the same time as the financial crisis in America and a lot of the world. And the whole idea of having this centralized economy that the banks control everything, and hey, if they declare bankruptcy, you can't take your money out anymore. That was a very unfortunate reality for a lot of people. So I think the need of something that's no longer tied to these establishments became very much evident. And we're still seeing what that's going to look like. Yeah. But that's really exciting and really scary. But I think, as with any really good investment, I think as Warren Buffett says, when people are fearful, be greedy. And when others are greedy, you should be fearful. A lot of people are afraid of crypto. I'm not saying they're right or they're wrong, but there is a massive opportunity just because of that fear alone.
Yeah, and I like having you on because we have different point of views on how the blockchain is useful to this world. I definitely am going to acknowledge that there is a bridge from what decentralized to centralized. How can you combine the both? How can you make both happy? How can you have a decentralized system if the world runs off of its own agenda? It's a weird concept, but it's a concept that many are catching on to. And in the whole nother level to it, it's the new age of technology. When everyone in early 2000s, the dot-com bubble, everyone says the internet's never going to be a thing. And here we are, the internet's running our lives and telling us how to do it.
Yeah. What's the last hour you've gone through without using the internet?
I mean, we're using the internet right now. Internet, when it came out, I wasn't old enough. I was in the womb still. You know, when people talking about, Google being a bad company and all this stuff coming out, and you go back now and it's like, oh, wow, I was horribly wrong.
Yeah.
I was horribly wrong. Because now what? The S&P holds a majority of it's in tech.
Yeah. So, massive chunk of it.
So when the internet came out, everyone said no. And the ones that did say, oh, this is interesting, they got rewarded. And it's the same concept in 2008, 2009 when Bitcoin came on the scene. People bought hundreds and thousands of Bitcoins for like cents on the dollar.
I remember that guy that tried to pay for a pizza with a single Bitcoin.
I think it was worth like $2 billion now. Or something like that.
Crazy.
Ridiculous. For 2 pizzas, the guy, if he saved that money, it would have been $1.2 billion. But, and the thing I want to point here is like, you don't know. You don't know if it's going to go high. But what I do know, and I do know for a fact, is technology is ever changing and crypto is leading the way in that. So if you're not in the space, you may be missing out on what some people say in crypto is the greatest the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the country.
Absolutely.
In the world, not even the country.
And we're not saying, hey, empty out your bank and go buy crypto, but for the love of it, just please do some research, educate yourself a little bit on it, because just to have a conversation with someone, try to be on a level where you can just discuss, share some ideas, because there's so much happening with this. And it could be completely transformative. And I think I speak for both of us. We would hate to see someone who had the capacity to learn about this and dive into it miss out on that just because they don't get it. It's not that complicated. It's not that easy, but it's definitely something we can all sink our teeth into. Yeah. And I think eventually we're not really going to have a choice. So again, coming back to early bird gets the worm, be one of the early adopters, be one of the people that understands it better, because it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. and I don't see it going away tomorrow. One thing I want to add just before we close this out here is projects are projects, and the best way to kind of learn everything, they've made it so easy now. You go on Coinbase. I'll throw a referral link down here below. You can check it out. Coinbase will actually give you money for learning about projects. Sometimes it's $10, $15, but you can actually learn about projects on Coinbase.
I actually made a couple $100 actually off of one of those because I don't know if it was Solana or something on there, but it was just a couple quizzes I had to take. It was like, how does this blockchain work?
Yeah, usually it's a video. You answer a couple quick questions about what you just watched. They're not hard to complete.
No.
I think, last time the market was really pumping back in 2021 when they were just rolling out this stuff, there was people making like $300 a week off of just learning those things. And that's something that goes into airdrops as well, when you could do like quick questionnaires and you get those, the airdropped in you. But this is really just goes all back to being early. Being early, get involved in the space. Coinbase does a great job at that now. Crypto.com is another good one. But Coinbase right now, I would say if you want to get into crypto, Coinbase is the app to get on. I'll throw a referral link down below. Check it out. You guys can go on, learn simple things about crypto, get paid for it, and just invest here and there. Even if you didn't want to invest, just doing those, they usually give you their native tokens when you learn about it.
And that's what amazing. When I got the tokens, it was like $5. And a couple months later, I checked it, and it was a couple hundred. And it was probably took like 2 minutes out of my day.
Yeah. And then some of these things take 60 seconds. So that would be my advice to you. Antarah, if you have anything to throw to the viewers.
I think just to sum it up, be eager, be early, and be curious. Find out about things, learn about it. It's something that is not going anywhere. I know I've said that like 6 times, but it's not going anywhere. I mean, if you were alive when they figured out fire and you're like, oh, I don't trust that, and you just don't use fire, everyone else is going to pass you. And I know that sounds like a bit of a crazy analogy. It kind of is. I'm thinking
you're
off the top
eating
here,
raw filet mignons and probably really bad jerky. But fire is like he say is the first thing. It's like crypto is the fire. Crypto is the new fire. Crypto is the newest thing, and you should get involved. And that's really all I have to say. Airdrops, allocations, and getting early. That'd be my 3. It sounds like, everyone viewing and wants to see something like this. So in the future, maybe we do another podcast on crypto. You guys can reach out to me, ask me what my picks are. If I had to give my picks actually on this podcast, it would be Ethereum, Chainlink, and Bitcoin. Three of my top, right? And you can all find those on Coinbase. They're great projects. I'll go into it another podcast, but those would be my 3 picks. Look into them. Do your research too.
I think that should be everyone's homework for today. Download the app, use the link in the description. I think there's an incentive for you guys on there as well. And just take some of the classes, learn something. You'll be better for it, and you might even make some money.
Yeah. Well, guys, it was wonderful being on the Still Talking podcast. I'm your host, Joe Still. Antarah, I appreciate you hopping on, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.